Everyone loves Al Roker, and his appearances on the Today Show are always a delight. However, his wife is just as successful as a journalist, and she has a new job that she is enjoying. Deborah Roberts now works as the host of 2020's The After Show, a podcast. It launched this week, and she had a big story to tell. Here is a look at Deborah's story of a murder case she covered. Al Roker's wife tells story of murder case she worked. Al Roker's wife, Deborah Roberts, has been working as a journalist for decades. She worked on 2020's as a correspondent for years, and now she has a podcast she hosts that is dedicated to the show. She recently shared the story of a murder case she covered maybe a year or two ago, with many twists and turns. Deborah says this podcast is special for her since it covers true crime and shares some behind-the-scenes occurrences that are cut out of the main show. Those are always the most intriguing to me, Roberts, 64, said. That is when she broke into the story of the murder case she investigated. Deborah said this was the story of a woman who was married to the love of her life for many years via parade. They had teenage children, and they maybe had drifted apart, but she felt they had a solid marriage. However, as many people who follow true crime documentaries might guess, this husband lived a double life. She said the other woman thought he was single with kids and his wife had died. She believed they were going to get married and was planning a wedding. Since he was already married, this was impossible. Instead of just calling things off and getting out of the mess, he killed the other woman. Deborah Roberts was assigned to cover the story, and she had an interview with the man's wife after the murders were discovered. She said it was awkward with this woman whose husband killed another woman, and she was getting her hair and makeup done to talk about it on TV. She eventually just tells this heartbreaking story of learning that her husband was not only a cheater, but a killer, and just not the man she thought she had married, Deborah said. That is when Deborah learned something horrific. The hair and makeup people had known the woman who was murdered. They were hired to do her wedding, which would never happen. Deborah said 20 couldn't put that in the episode because it was way off topic, but it amazed her. The hair and makeup team they hired knew the victim of the murder they were telling the story about. So that was one of those moments I would have loved to have shared with an audience. And anytime I tell people these behind-the-scenes stories, they are just absolutely riveted. Are you excited to hear Deborah Roberts' new podcast, 2020's The After Show, to catch more of these stories? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Al Roker is a beloved figure on the Today Show, known for his warmth and engaging personality. However, his wife, Deborah Roberts, is equally accomplished in her own right as a seasoned journalist. Recently, she embarked on a new venture as the host of a podcast titled 2020's The After Show, which premiered this week. In this exciting new role, Deborah is set to delve into the world of true crime, sharing captivating stories and behind-the-scenes insights from her extensive career. One of the standout stories she recently recounted on her podcast involves a chilling murder case she covered not long ago. Deborah has spent decades honing her skills as a journalist, with a significant tenure as a correspondent for the acclaimed news program 2020's. Her new podcast allows her to explore the intricacies of true crime narratives, while providing listeners with a unique perspective on the stories that often go untold. In her podcast, Deborah expressed her enthusiasm for the format, emphasizing the opportunity to share behind-the-scenes occurrences that are typically omitted from the main show. Those are always the most intriguing to me, she remarked, setting the stage for the gripping tale she was about to unfold. The murder case Deborah discussed involved a woman who believed she was married to the love of her life for many years. According to Deborah, the couple had teenage children, and while they may have drifted apart over time, the wife felt confident in the strength of their marriage. However, as is often the case in true crime stories, the reality was far more sinister. The husband was leading a double life, maintaining a secret relationship with another woman who was completely unaware of his marital status. This other woman was under the impression that the husband was single and that his wife had passed away. She was even planning a wedding, blissfully ignorant of the truth. Instead of ending the affair and confronting the situation, the husband resorted to murder, taking the life of the woman he had to cover this harrowing story and had the difficult task of interviewing the man's wife after the shocking events unfolded. She described the experience as awkward, particularly as the wife was preparing for her television appearance, getting her hair and makeup done while grappling with the reality of her husband's betrayal and the tragedy that had occurred. In a poignant moment, Deborah recounted the wife's heartbreaking realization that her partner was not only unfaithful but had also committed a heinous crime. She learned that her husband was not just a cheater, but a killer, and not the man she thought she had married, Deborah shared. This revelation was compounded by an unsettling detail that emerged during the interview process. The hair and makeup team had a personal connection to the murder victim. They had been hired to prepare the victim for her wedding, which would tragically never take place. Deborah noted that this particular detail could not be included in the episode, as it strayed too far from the main narrative. However, she found it profoundly impactful and expressed her desire to share such moments with her audience. "Anytime I tell people these behind-the-scenes stories, they are just absolutely riveted," she said, highlighting the power of personal connections in true crime storytelling. As Deborah Roberts embarks on this new chapter with 2020's The After Show, listeners can look forward to more compelling stories that shed light on the complexities of human relationships and the darker aspects of life. Her unique perspective as a journalist, combined with her ability to connect with her audience, promises to make this podcast a must-listen for true crime enthusiasts. Are you eager to tune into Deborah Roberts' new podcast and hear more of these captivating stories? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Roker, the beloved weatherman and television personality, has long been a staple of the Today Show, captivating audiences with his charm and warmth. However, his wife, Deborah Roberts, is a formidable force in her own right, carving out a distinguished career as a journalist. Recently, she embarked on an exciting new journey as the host of a podcast titled 2020's The After Show, which premiered this week. This new platform allows Deborah to delve into the world of true crime, sharing compelling stories and behind-the-scenes insights from her extensive career in journalism. Deborah Roberts has spent decades in the field, earning a reputation for her insightful reporting and dedication to uncovering the truth. Her tenure as a correspondent for the acclaimed news program 2020's has equipped her with a wealth of experience, and her new podcast offers a unique opportunity to explore the intricacies of true crime narratives, while providing listeners with a glimpse into the stories that often remain untold. In her inaugural episode, Deborah shared a particularly chilling murder case that she covered not long ago. The story revolves around a woman who believed she was married to the love of her life for many years. Deborah described the couple as having teenage children, and while they may have drifted apart over time, the wife felt confident in the strength of their marriage. However, as is often the case in true crime stories, the reality was far more sinister than it appeared. The husband, unbeknownst to his wife, was leading a double life. He was involved in a secret relationship with another woman who was completely unaware of his marital status. This other woman believed that the husband was single and that his wife had passed away. In her mind, she was planning a wedding, blissfully ignorant of the truth that would soon unravel in a horrific manner. Instead of confronting the situation and ending the affair, the husband resorted to murder, taking the life of the woman he had deceived. Deborah was assigned to cover this harrowing story and faced the challenging task of interviewing the man's wife after the shocking events unfolded. She described the experience as awkward, particularly as the wife was preparing for her television appearance, getting her hair and makeup done while grappling with the reality of her husband's betrayal and the tragedy that had occurred. The juxtaposition of the glamorous preparations and the grim circumstances created a poignant atmosphere that Deborah could not ignore. In a deeply emotional moment, Deborah recounted the wife's heartbreaking realization that her partner was not only unfaithful but had also committed a heinous crime. She learned that her husband was not just a cheater, but a killer, and not the man she thought she had married, Deborah shared. This revelation was compounded by an unsettling detail that emerged during the interview process. The hair and makeup team had a personal connection to the murder victim.